And hello, everyone. I'm already feeling so much joy just scrolling through the screens here and seeing some of you already dressed up in the spirit of Purim. So yeah, extra invitation to bring that spirit of playfulness and revelry and celebration this week. So I am so excited and happy to be with you this week and dive into one of my very favorite topics in spiritual practice, which is the place and the importance of playfulness and joy, something that we are especially invited to increase during this whole month of Adar, as Mark mentioned, before and after Purim. Our Talmud says, Misha nichnas Adar marbim besimcha. As the month of Adar enters, we increase our joy. And on Purim, tonight where I am, and tomorrow, we raise this celebration to dramatic heights. And one of the main gateways through which we do so is playfulness. So my intention for this week of practice, awakening our joy, playful approaches to spirituality, for this week, we're going to be drawing from different themes of Purim to help us understand and experience the ways that playfulness and delight and joy can be both skillful means in our practice, meaning that they are resources that can bring wisdom and support us in uncovering a more authentic connection to celebration and gratitude, and even sometimes a more balanced perspective on the bigger picture of our experience, as well as a fruit of practice. So that playfulness and joy are even some of the innate qualities of the awakened mind that we uncover through mindfulness. And I want to begin with a teaching from the renowned, well-loved meditation teacher, Jack Kornfield. Jack teaches, if you can sit quietly after difficult news, if in financial downturns you remain perfectly calm, if you can see your neighbors travel to fantastic places without a twinge of jealousy, if you can happily eat whatever is on your plate, if you can fall asleep after a day of running around without a drink or a pill, if you can always find contentment just where you are probably a dog. So we so often have this tendency to take our practice very seriously, and for good reason, right? But there's a time to bring in some lightness, to acknowledge our humanity and the dimension of this experience that's always beyond our control, always beyond our understanding, and to bring a lighter touch. And if there's any time for that in our Hebrew calendar, it's certainly right now in Adar, which is right across the calendar from Elul when we're preparing for the high holidays. So the high holidays are this time of utmost sincerity. We're taking accounting of our souls and our actions and our impact. And Purim, in a way, is like the foil to the high holidays. It's that time for lightness and play and silliness and inside-outness. But it's no less holy. It's no less important. It actually brings a sense of sacred balance. Yom Kippur, Yom HaKippurim, literally means a day like Purim. It's no accident. So these two aspects exist in a kind of holy foil, a holy tension. They bring balance. So this is a time when we get to release and just let loosen our grip on some of perhaps the seriousness that has been building up in our lives. We get to lighten our load. Rabbi Sam Feinsmith from the faculty here, he shared with me a story about how the Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh visited the San Francisco Zen Center. And he saw everyone practicing with such sincerity, the walking and the sitting and such impeccability. And he said, I'm leaving and I'm not coming back until you start laughing. So for myself, I began to really understand and appreciate the importance of playfulness and lighter approaches to practice when I was teaching mindfulness to children in schools. I used to teach all the way from pre-K to high school. And what I found is that when teaching mindfulness to children, it's actually the exact same practice and teachings, but with more games, with more simplicity, with more playfulness. And then I started to notice that these approaches to teaching and to practice were actually profoundly effective for their teachers and their parents, for the adults in their lives as well. Because we all have this inner child inside, right? And we can especially feel those younger parts of ourselves in moments when we're experiencing habits of emotional reactivity, right? When we get really angry about something or really sad about something. Because often when we're experiencing these deeply held patterns, they formed in childhood, right? So in a way, that part of us that is reacting in that way is like a younger part. And we can speak directly to that part of ourselves. We can relate to that part of ourselves almost in the way that we would a child. So when I'm teaching, for instance, to children, mindfulness of feelings, of emotions, we teach it as if the feelings are visitors, they're friends, right? What if sadness is a friend who's visiting? How would you treat that friend? Could you give it a hug? What does it need? Can we get to know them really well? Or an anger friend who wants to stomp around, wants to express, wants to get it out. And what happens when, even as adults, we can meet ourselves and hold ourselves with the same kind of gentleness, of lightness, of playfulness that we would a child. Part of what is so beautiful about the capacity that children have for playfulness is that when they're fully immersed in that consciousness of playfulness, they're fully present, right? They're not judging themselves. They're not striving to get anything right or to do anything perfectly. And that opens up so much more room for discovery, for creativity, for delight. And this can be such medicine for us adults, this playfulness that can help us kind of unlearn and loosen that conditioning that we might have picked up along the way towards perfectionism or overcomplicating things or needing to get things right. And Purim as well is a time to release our hold a little bit on that conditioning. One of the main themes of this holiday is v'nafochu, right? V'nafochu, it was switched, it was flipped, it's upside down, it's inside out. Everything is its opposite. We thought that the good guy was gonna get hanged and actually the bad guy was. The Jews thought that they were gonna experience doom and destruction and actually they were redeemed and everything was okay. Everything is on its head. Everything is upside down. V'nafochu is this invitation to relax and ease our normal ways of encountering reality so that something else might take place. And it's actually meant to bring about a shift in our consciousness. We're invited into this state of radical not knowing. We're encouraged to shift our consciousness until we don't even know between blessing the hero of the story and cursing the villain. This is an invitation to transcend our habituated value judgments, right? We're moving from our normal dualistic consciousness in which we immediately judge our experience. This is good, this is bad. I like this is pleasant, so it's good. I don't like this, it's unpleasant, it's bad. We're relaxing the lenses of those judgments and interpretations. And this is not to say that good or evil don't exist at all, but it's to acknowledge that our perception is limited and our value judgments, I like this, I don't like this, they're often based on preconceived beliefs or on habits of responding. So this is a time of letting go a little bit of what we think we know. Judaism is very good often at intellectual knowing, but here on Purim, we're dropping into the body. We're letting go a little bit of the need to intellectually know and understand what's happening so that we can encounter our experience with more playfulness, more vitality, more presence, more sensorial experience, right? We dress up our bodies, we feast, we costume, we play, we sing. We feel that immanent presence of our direct experience with all of our senses, and we share in it with loved ones and community. So in practice, there's a concept called beginner's mind. It's really the starting point for mindfulness. Beginner's mind is essentially allowing things to be new, seeing reality with fresh eyes, bringing that childlike curiosity to our experience. In beginner's mind, we notice where we have judgments. We notice where we have habits of perception and response, and we just see if we can invite them to relax a little bit. We gift ourselves this grace of being a beginner and bringing that childlike curiosity and play to our experience. What if we don't have to get it right? What if there's nothing to get right? So we're inviting in wonder. And this is the practice I'll invite us into for today, this beginner's mind, as we begin together our week of exploring playfulness and joy, loosening our grip on what we think we know, softening the need to know intellectually, dropping into the body, dropping into a fresh, revitalized encounter with our experience. And so I invite you to settle into a posture that will be supportive of mindfulness, of presence. Inviting a sense of softening, of relaxation into the body. Perhaps noticing if there's any tension, any constriction, any holding. And just gently inviting it to relax. Perhaps the way that you might invite a child to relax. Like, what's happening, sweetheart? It's okay. We can relax, we can soften. Just here, practicing presence. Perhaps even putting a hand on the heart, just extending that gentleness, that sweetness to ourselves. You can close or relax the eyes. Inviting ourselves into a more fuller presence. You can find an anchor for the attention somewhere in the body. Perhaps the breath. Noticing the physical sensations as you breathe in and out. Or the sensation of the seat or the feet on the floor. Just allowing the attention to rest here in the body, in the present moment. It's a gentle anchor. So in the same way that a boat drops an anchor down, but still floats a little bit, we can allow that quality in our mindfulness practice as well. The mind might float around a little bit, but we're basically anchored here in the present moment, in the body. And inviting in that sense of beginner's mind. Can we meet whatever arises here in our awareness as if for the first time, with fresh eyes. Or a fresh touch. What if you've never meditated before? What would it be like even to experience this breath as if for the first time? This heartbeat. This body. Meeting whatever arises in our awareness with curiosity. Can we get really curious about a feeling or a sensation? Almost like we're a scientist with a magnifying glass, really investigating. What is it like? What is the nature of this experience? Investigating sound, investigating sensation, you might notice if judgment arises. This is good, this is bad. This is right, this is wrong. And just noticing our judgment, no need to judge our judgment. If a judgmental thought arises, you might just say to yourself, maybe, maybe not. This is good, this is bad. Maybe, maybe not. Gently settling the mind in our experience of the present moment, returning again and again to what is here. Meeting whatever arises, the spirit of curiosity, as if for the first time. Breath, heartbeat, sensation. What is it like? Can we meet whatever arises in our experience as if for the first time? Allowing it to be fresh, new, flush with aliveness. Relaxing our judgment, our interpretation, and simply being with the experience of what is here. With gentleness, with curiosity. And can we bring a spirit of experimentation to our practice? Just trying it out. It's okay if we don't get it right. It's not about being right or wrong. Noticing whatever is arising, thought, sensation, meeting it with curiosity. Relaxing again back into presence. Resting in the present moment, as if you're sitting on the banks of a river, watching thought, feeling, sensation float by. No need to chase after it or push it away. Just watching it float by with curiosity. Even wonder. And if there's any part of ourselves that's experiencing challenge, fear, sadness, resistance, can we meet that part of ourselves the way that we would a child. We welcome them in with gentleness. With a big hug. I'm here. I'm with you. Come, we can sit here together on the banks of this river and get curious about this experience. What might we discover? What might we learn? If we simply pay attention. For the last few minutes of our practice, if you'd like, I invite you to play a little mindfulness game, which is simply counting to 10 breaths, 10 full breaths. Paying attention to each breath fully. And if you lose count, no problem. It's just a game. Simply start over at 1. And see if you can make it to 10. With a spirit of playfulness. If you like. Yai nay 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 yai nay 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 yai nay 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 yai 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 na nay nay na yai nay 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 yai nay nay yai nay 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 yai nay nay yai na yai nay 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 yai nay nay yai nay 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 yai nay 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 yai nay yai nay 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 yai nay 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 yai nay 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 yai nay yai nay 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 nay. You can gently open your eyes if they've been closed. Take a moment to just notice what's present within you, around you. Thank you so much for your practice and your presence, and my invitation to you as you go about your day and your week. And I hope you'll come back to join us tomorrow. The invitation for today is to bring that spirit of beginner's mind. You can bring it into everything you do. And it's really about relating to our experience as if for the first time. So washing dishes or walking the dog or talking to someone we love. Can we bring that fresh perspective? Can we relax what we think we know and open to discovering and learning something new through paying attention? So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. Really wonderful teaching and practice, and so nice to have the expansive time for us to practice together. And we seal the practice as we do each day by offering those of you who are in mourning or observing yahrzeit, or if it's your custom to join in the Kaddish, to do so. You can put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box now or later if you would like. If you're not reciting Kaddish, just to stay present and offer your love and support for those who are. And thanks to Kat Esposito for sharing the words on the screen. If you are reciting Kaddish, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit to recite the words together. You can unmute at this time. Yitgadal,
Yitgadal,
Yomad Hayechol, Yemechol, Chaye Dechol Beit Israel, Ha Vizman Kariv, Ishme Rabba Barach, Alam Rame Amen. Barach Yishtabach, Ha'ar V'yitam, Yishteh, Hadar V'yitaleh, Yitlach, Elam, Birchata B'Shirat, Birchata B'Nachama, Miran Salama, Ish Lama Rabba Min Shemaya, Se Shalom B'Mamav, Yaseh Shalom, Yehuda Yisrael, Kol Yisrael, Amen. And friends, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're leaving us, we hope you'll join us tomorrow or and hopefully throughout the rest of the week, but for whatever sessions you're able to join us for this wonderful series on cultivating awakening to joy by through playfulness and cultivating awareness of joy. you're, of course, as always, invited to stay on for conversation with our teacher for today, Rebecca Schisler, about today's teaching, or just to share reflections on your experience with the practice, or to use the time to continue to sit. Just really nice to have this container of this community of practice. Of course, we want to thank Kat Esposito, as always, for holding our space, and thank our sponsor for today, Kathy Hollander, for sponsoring today's practice in loving memory of her father, Lee Sachs, on the occasion of his third yahrzeit. Zichrono livracha, may his memory be a blessing. If you are like to put a question to Rebecca for today's teaching, please put in the chat. Please preface it with question. Keep an eye out for that. Really, maybe I might go with this blue hair look permanently based on the reaction. Rebecca, thank you so much. It's a great start to the week, and a nice kind of gentle way of easing into it, I think. So I wanted to just, spend a little time to stay with this theme of beginner's mind. Sometimes we use that Hebrew word hitlamdut, cultivating curious, non-judgmental attention to the truth of our experience moment by moment, which for many of us is a new way of, being in the world. We're so used to powerful judgment, really shaping the way things are. And I loved how you elicited from the Purim story some of those, and the practice of Purim, how we get to this beginner's mind, that things are not the way they seem on the surface, right? And also that nahafochu, that things can be upside down, topsy-turvy, what's up is down, what's down is up, etc. It really encourages us to shake up the categories and say, I just don't know, right? Which is yet another Purim thing, right? There's this custom of, getting ourselves to a state of ad lo yada, of not knowing, right? Whether through a drink or, I guess, through our practice today. Maybe we can do that naturally tomorrow through our own practice, achieve that state of being, of not knowing. So just wanted about you to see if you wanted to say anything more about that, about, this is I guess mindfulness 101 is beginner's mind, right? And yet a lot easier prescribed than practiced.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much to say about it, and I'll share just a few thoughts that come up in this moment, because it really is so huge, and it really is in many ways like the foundation actually of mindfulness. It's like what's required to basically begin. And in an essential way, what we are doing in our practice is starting to become aware of those lenses through which we're experiencing reality, the lenses of our interpretation and judgment. And through becoming aware of that, relaxing it so that we can start to experience reality more directly and more clearly. And this is the invitation of Purim, into the ad lo yodat, the consciousness, until you don't know. One thing that I want to share is you mentioned, as I'm sure many of us know, on Purim, you're actually encouraged to become inebriated. So it really is this holiday that is inviting us explicitly into shifting our consciousness. But what I want to offer is, this came to my attention recently. So in the Talmud, when it says, Chayav inish livasume ad lo yodat. It says that you should, it's often translated as a person should drink until they do not know the difference between blessing the hero of the story and cursing the villain. What I want to offer, though, is actually that it doesn't have to be drinking. That any way of shifting our consciousness can help us to access that state of not knowing. And meditation, for sure, can help us to do that, because in so many ways it is about becoming flush with our experience in the present moment. What came to my attention recently about that sentence from the Talmud is that chayav inish libasume actually literally means that a person should become infragranced. Libasume is the same shoresh, the same root as bisamim. So it's about a fragrance. So it's really about bringing a new quality to your consciousness that could be, again, through so many things. Some of us probably will be partying on Purim, perhaps drinking or imbibing in that way, but meditation, dance, even eating, other ways of engaging the senses and dropping out of our intellectual knowing mind space can help us to enter that more flush, direct experience with reality. And so that was just a beautiful little piece. Wanted to offer folks. It was meaningful to me.
I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here too, which is that it seems like on the one hand, we kind of are living in a time where what's up is down, what's down is up, meaning that, that which we would consider evil as bad as, it can be presented as positive and vice versa, right? So that reality is kind of like altered in a way. In fact, that's part maybe what is why a lot of us are here, that, we're it's such an unsettled and unsettling time where that which we thought we could trust as true is no longer treated as true. So I think you kind of pointed to an answer to this question, but I wanted to just pose that question to you about, like, is this really what we need right now to, like, question everything at a time when, like, everything is up for grabs? Shouldn't we be calling this and calling this?
Right. Yeah.
What do you think?
So such an important question. One thing that I want to point out is that the instruction of getting into this not knowing consciousness is not to say that evil doesn't exist, or that bad things aren't bad and good things aren't good. It's to acknowledge that our perception is limited. So it's not so that you don't know the difference between Mordechai and Haman, the good guy or the bad guy. It's that you don't know the difference between blessing or cursing, which is like that response that usually comes out of our value judgment, which is very often habituated or based on past experiences. So this is one moment in our calendar when we are really invited to let go of our habituated value judgments and our need to know, and be flush on that sensorial level with our direct experience of reality as it is. And I think that, when we look at the real potential, the real opportunities, almost like the medicine of our Jewish holidays, they make sense when we zoom out to appreciate the calendar as a whole. So the teachings of Purim are not to say that you should be living this way every single day, but it is to say that at a certain point every year, it can actually be really helpful to let go, to enter a different state of consciousness, and then to return to your life, return to the way of living when we're not just partying, right, and engaging in revelry, but we are very seriously engaging with what is broken in our world, what is wrong in our world, and what needs fixing, but hopefully from a place of refreshment. Purim can really be a catharsis. It's like, I hold so much. I'm so engaged in my work of healing and fixing, and it's a time of just letting go so that I can be renewed and refreshed, and have that release, and then to return. So
Laura's asking this question, which I also came up for me too, about what do you make of the interconnection between joy and grief, or maybe also between lightheartedness and seriousness, which you kind of alluded to at the beginning. Sometimes the metamorphosis of one into the other, of I don't know, the phrase that occurred to me when you were saying that is, light, I think maybe even use this, lightening up, like loosening the grip, on some way. So what do you make of that connection between grief and joy? Because, the Purim story has it all, right? It has terror, it has laughter, it has joy, it has revenge, it has joy and grief.
Joy and grief. So we're going to be addressing this a lot more in depth later on in the week. But I will just share more briefly from my own experience. It really seems that when we have capacity to feel, we have capacity to feel. So if we have capacity to feel grief, we have that same capacity to feel joy. And they are deeply related. When we grieve, we're grieving something that brought us joy in some way, right? Rabbi Alan Liu teaches that simcha, joy, simcha, is basically the capacity to feel any of our feelings in their full expression. So I think that that's another beautiful way to conceive of what simcha is, or what joy is that anything within us, if it can be fully expressed uninhibitedly, that is joy. So that's more of a conception of joy related to fullness.
Mm-hmm.
Fullness and freedom of expression. It's like filled with vitality. So joy is in no way negating grief or sadness or the reality of brokenness. But I think it's making room for often many things to be true at the same time. And just a fuller spectrum, the fuller spectrum of our experience.
Well, we're at time. Thank you so much, Rebecca. This is just a great start to the week. You want to give us a quick preview of tomorrow?
Preview of tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's Purim Day, so it is the day for Vinapochu. It is the day for Atelier Dat. Show up in costume. It's going to be a day of celebration and revelry, and really getting into the playfulness we might be engaging with. We'll be engaging with some special practices alternative to our normal sitting meditation.
Ooh, okay.
To party it up a little bit together and have
Great.
some. Yeah.
Great. All right, everybody, get your costumes ready. Chag Purim Sameach to all. And thank you so much, Rebecca. And thanks, of course, to Kat for holding our space, and to Kathy Hollinger for sponsoring our practice today. We're so grateful to you, Kathy, for that. And we hope to see you all tomorrow at the same time. Chag Purim Sameach, everyone.